Hari Om. Starting with invocation, let us chant from verses 6 to 10 of Atma Bodha. Pratah smarami hridi samspuradatmatattvam Satchit sukham paramaham sagatim turiyam Yasvapna jagara sushuptama veti nityam Tad brahma nishkalamaham na cha bhuta sanghaha Samsara swapna tulyo hi ragadveshati sankulaha Swakale satyavadbhati prabodhe satyasad Tavas satyam jagad bhati shuktika rajatam yatha yavanna jnayate brahma sarvadhishthanam upadane khiladhare Jaganti Parameshware Sargasthiti Layan Yanti Budbudani Pavarini Sachidatmanyanusyute Nitye Vishnau Prakalpitaha Vyaktayo vividha sarvaha Hatake katakadiva Yatha kasho rishikeshaha Nanopadhigato vibhuhu Tadvedhat bhinnavad Bhati Tannashe kevalo bhave
Rathasmarami hridi samspuradatmatattvam Satchit sukham paramaham sagatim turiyam Yat swapna jagara sushuptamaveti nityam Tad brahma nishkalamaham nacha bhuta sangaha. We have studied up to verse number 6, where we saw as long as it exists, it appears to be real. But the same thing becomes unreal when one is enlightened. So, the second topic, as we saw, how material equipments superimpose upon Brahman. We're talking about the superimposition. How does this superimposition happen? As long as it exists, it appears to be real. The definition of relative reality. The definition of relative reality is it exists as long as you see it. It ceases to exist the moment you become, the moment you transcend, it ceases to exist. This world, Shankaracharya is saying, this experience, when he say world loka, means experience. Lokaha means experiences. So all these experiences, he is not calling it as imaginary. He is saying it is temporary. And anything temporary has to be understood it as temporary. Anything temporary, you cannot give it an exaggerated value and make it appear real, for which you need knowledge. For which you need knowledge. For minus this jnanam, without this knowledge, you wouldn't be able to do this. Therefore, verse number 6, which we finished, as long as it exists, it appears to be real, but it becomes unreal when one is enlightened. Enlightened is when you become wise, you understand that it exists, but is temporary by, it has an existence, but that existence is temporary by nature. This is verse number 6. Now we move on to verse number 7. Tavat satyam jagadbhati shuktikarajatham yatha yavanna jnayate brahma sarvadhisthana madvayam. Tavat satyam jagadbhati shuktikarajatham yatha yavanna jnayate brahma sarvadhisthana madvayam. As long as the non-dual reality Brahman, the substratum of all, is not realized, so long the world appears real like silver in oyster shell. Adhishtanam here is used in the sense of substratum. The word adhishtanam is used as substratum. Now what is he saying? The example here is like silver in oyster shell. What is the silver in oyster shell? On a moonlit night, the scattered oyster shells along the beach produce an illusion of silver. On a moonlit night, the oyster shells scattered on the sands of the beach, you walk around, it produces the illusion of silver. The illusion lasts as long as you don't recognize that it is an oyster shell. It will last as long as you don't recognize it. When the real nature of the shell is seen, the imaginary silver vanishes. The crux in all these examples in relation to the real and unreal is this. The silver confirms the existence of the shell. The silver confirms the existence of the shell. You are misunderstanding it. That is different. But the very fact that you are able to see a silver, the very fact that you are able to see an illusory silver is because of something real that is there upon which you are superimposing, projecting misunderstanding. So the very misunderstanding, the very illusion is the proof of existence of something real. Therefore, so beautifully he says, without the shell, the illusion cannot arise. If the shell wasn't there, the illusion itself cannot arise. Therefore, silver is the adhishtanam. Silver is the substratum. Silver is called as the adhishtanam, without which the silver could not have been superimposed. Similarly, in relation to the world, the very fact that you are seeing the temporary world, the very fact that you are having temporary experiences, the very fact that you are having temporary experiences is the proof of a reality behind it. This is the very giant leap in understanding. This is a very giant leap in understanding, to have a conviction that there is a reality that is supporting all this. If there wasn't something more permanent as the base, you can never see the temporary. In order to recognize the temporary, there has to be something permanent at the background. If that permanent thing at the background is not there, you can never recognize the temporary, because the law is all changes are noticeable, all changes are perceptible against a changeless entity. You can notice a change only with relation to something that is not changing. This is pratyaksha, a very simple, this is a pratyaksha jnanam. What is the pratyaksha jnanam? For you to notice a change, there has to be something that is unchanging at the background. Only in relation to the unchanging background, you can notice the changes taking place. Now, you take from this. What do you take from this? You take the analysis from here. As long as you are seeing everything that is moving around, as long as you see everything that is changing around, you immediately recognize, you immediately understand that there has to be something that is changeless. Number one. Are you okay till now? Number two, that changeless necessarily has to be beyond your instruments. If it pertains to the instruments, it cannot be changeless, because it still falls under the category of changing. Number one, there is something. Number two, and that something has to be beyond the cognition of all the instruments. When I say beyond the cognition of all the instruments, means your intellect would not be able to understand it, the mind will not be able to feel it, your senses will not be able to perceive it. Because whatever the senses perceive, whatever the mind feels, whatever the intellect comprehends, belongs to the realm of the change. It has to be changing. For the instruments are designed to recognize that which is changing. In everybody, deep down, there is something permanent. We are all able to, somehow we are all able to conceive that there has to be something permanent. In everybody. Not only that, and there is a constant seeking over this permanency also. Not only that we understand, not only we are able to conceive that there has to be something permanent. Number two, we are seeking that permanency also. Vedanta comes and says, you are searching for it in the wrong area, that's all. You seeking permanency is all right. There's nothing wrong about it. But seeking it in the wrong area is ignorance. What is seeking that permanency in the wrong area? Seeking permanency in the wrong area of name, fame, power, position, status, wealth, family. Seeking permanency through all this is wrong. When we say it is wrong, what they mean by wrong is you can't find that permanency, that's all. Wrong means you are searching for it and you won't be able to find it. In that sense, it is wrong. What is fame? Fame is nothing but opinions of others about you. You know that? If you are famous, not that you have done anything to become famous. Famous means opinions of others about you is fame. Opinions of others about you is opposite of fame. I don't know. Whatever there is, whatever is the opposite of fame. What is the opposite of fame? The opposite of fame is infame, unfame, I don't know, whatever that opposite is. Both are opinions about others which are bound to change. Are you able to follow? Therefore, you are not affected, once you understand this, you are not affected by you becoming famous or you not being famous or you being constantly abused also. Why? Because you understand that it is opinions, and opinion is bound to change. Opinions are bound to change. Therefore, what do you understand? You let go of fame. You let go of fame. I'm just using fame as an example. Similarly, each and everything you can similarly each and everything you can take up, analyze, and you can keep let go. Shakespeare says it's an idle and false imposition. Most idle and false imposition, often got without merit. Fame is often got without merit. False imposition is opinions of others. Now, you are so dependent on the opinions of others. When a person says, I want to be famous, means what? I want others to have good opinion about me. And how will you have, so you have to do which they agree so that they will have good opinion about you. See, then only they will have good opinion about you. No, if somebody, you want good opinion about you, what you have to do? Supposing if I want all of you to all have good opinion about me, what I have to do? I have to speak that which you all like to hear. I have to entertain you all, and I keep you all in good humor and spirits so that you all will give very good feedback. What is the good feedback? Sir's classes are very good. Supposing I insult, a blast. He's a very short-tempered, negative person. He thinks big of himself. Fame is a opinion, and opinions are bound to change. Therefore, what happens? You don't expect a permanency through name, you don't expect a permanency through fame, you don't expect permanency through any of these. But then there is something in you that is constantly seeking for that permanent. There is something in you that is constantly seeking for something that is permanent. That's why they ask, life la one of the stable sir, they say, no? At least one thing has to be stable in life. Job stability, at least job has to be stable. At least if job is not stable, family at least has to be stable. Okay, job is not stable, family is not stable. At least I have to be stable, sir. That is also, after a while, that also. So down the line, at least health of the stable and the last day, I have to be healthy and I need to go away. Somewhere in all aspects, you are asking, searching for something that is permanent. In you, there is this inexplicable. In you, there is this inexplicable search for permanency. Understand that first. That inexplicable search for permanency is because of what? Here comes the classic Vedanta. Inexplicably, you are searching for that which your own instruments also cannot recognize, that because you are that fundamentally. Even the instruments have come, and the instruments that has come, that instrument will go. Therefore, the instruments which has come to you is also temporary. How can that recognize your? How can that gives you a? How can that give you a permanent knowledge? How can that give you a permanent experience? How can that give you anything that is stable? How can that give you anything that is nityam? It cannot. Therefore, the topic, material equipments superimpose experiences upon Brahman. Material equipments superimpose experiences upon Brahman. Oyster shell. Beautiful example is this oyster shell. The unseen shell is the foundation for the illusory silver, is the Adhishtanam. Adhishtanam means this. The unseen shell is the foundation for the illusory silver. When the shell is seen, the illusion disappears. Therefore, shell can be called as the Adhishtanam for silver. Therefore, the oyster shell can be called as Adhishtanam for silver. And what is the nature of this Adhishtanam? What is the nature of that Adhishtanam? So beautifully he has introduced that. The nature of the Adhishtanam. Non-Advayam Brahman. Non-dual reality. Advayam Brahman. What is the nature of that permanency? If the instruments can recognize the two, the reality has to be beyond. The reality has to be beyond the two. If the instruments can recognize two, the reality has to be beyond the two. Therefore, necessarily you have to conclude what? Brahman as Advayam. Non-dual reality. The substratum of all. The substratum of all. All means all your experiences. All your experiences. All the experiences that happens through waking, dream, deep sleep, senses, mind, intellect. All these experiences are illusory, temporary. There is the Adhishtanam that is supporting it. There is something at the there is something at the background, the permanent, which is supporting it. And all sciences, the inquiry of all sciences is to understand that permanent, to get to that fundamental, to get to that permanent. Sankhya philosophy analyze, and they say at the core everything is atoms only, Anu, it says. Sankhya, it goes so, and just that is real. Another person will go into analysis and say silence is at the core. So what you have to do? Why silent and go mad inside? Yeah, and go mad inside. Silence is at the core. For all the phenomena of sound arises from silence. So you have to define it in terms of the opposite of your experience and call it as permanent, which is again the definition given by your instrument only, which is no way closer to the reality, because that definition is also given by your instrument. What is the definition that your instrument gives? It cognizes the polar opposite of your experiences, and then it will say that has to be real. Vedanta comes and says that polar opposite of your experience also cannot be real. Then what is it? Advayam, non-dual, where the two doesn't exist, where the two do not exist. Second is that real is the adhishtanam, substratum upon which all this is happening. So two things. The nature of the reality is, it is adhishtanam. Number two, it is advayam. Advayam means the subject-object duality. See, duality, now what? The subject-object relationship. Whatever can be the subject, whatever can be the object. Whatever can be the quality of the subject, whatever can be the quality of the object. Duality means subject-object relationship has to exist. So one set says world is nothing but impure subject and impure object. So what you have to do? Make the object also pure, make the subject also pure. So there will be interaction between a pure subject and a pure object. And what is the pure object? That pure object is called God, and the pure subject is the purified you, the purified instruments, and then there will be interaction between the pure subject and the pure object. But nevertheless, what has to necessarily exist? Are you able to follow? Necessarily what has to exist? The subject-object duality. The subject-object duality has to exist. Shankaracharya comes and says, Vedanta says, the nature of reality you are talking about like this because you have not known what reality is. Those who have experienced the reality, those who have thought so deep about it, have understood what the nature of reality is. Advayam, non-two. Purified subject, you will agree. Purified subject, you will agree. Purified you will want to be. God as a good, pure, noble entity, which all Kalyana Gunas. That's why they say the definition of God is Kalyana Gunas. Asura Gunas and all doesn't come to God. So God is with all the Kalyana Gunas, and you also have a pure body. That pure individual alone would be able to interact with the pure object, which is God. So as long as you are impure, you cannot see the purity, so become pure. This you will agree. Why? Because This you will agree. Why you will agree? Because the ego is not asked to. The ego is refined and purified. Purified ego is acceptable. Why Vedanta is unacceptable? Yeah. I don't know how many people are listening. I don't know how many are listening. Purified ego, you will agree. Negating the ego completely is that is not what we are asking for. So whenever you talk about that, we will switch off, sir. Whenever you talk about that, we will switch off. And whenever you talk about purification, becoming better, and how to handle anger, frustration, all this and all, we will open up and we will listen. Why? Because who asked you to get rid of the subject Allah? We have not come for that. We just want to be a better, purified, refined, better. As long as the duality remains, what will happen? Extraordinary statement in Brihadaranyaka. He says, where there is two, there is fear, he says. Where there is two, there will be fear. That's all he says. Where there are two, there will be fear. Beautifully, he introduces the Brahman here and says it is Advayam. It is Advayam. It means what? You need to stretch your thinking, and you need to stretch your thinking and follow the way that what they are saying. What does this mean analytically? Now I will analyze. What is the higher nature? I told you last week itself, if you remember, I gave this example. You can say, I am the bulb enlivened by electricity, or I am the electricity enlivening the bulb. Before Vedanta, after Vedanta. Yeah. BC, AD we keep, no? The Madri, BV, AV you can keep. Yeah. BV na before Vedanta, AV na audio visual illa. Yeah. AV na after Vedanta. Before Vedanta, you say, I need support. After Vedanta, you say, I support all. Not in an arrogant way. I support all and the ego there is no I sitting here saying. There is no Vijayanath saying, I am supporting all. Vijayanath supporting all nale onnum purilla. Idu onnu still BV stage da. AV ki. So before coming into Vedanta, you say, I am this limited, restricted, constricted individual, and I need support from the world. And how do I need support from the world? I need support from the world through name, fame, power, position, status, wealth, family. I need support from this world. After Vedanta, instruments need it. Carefully follow. The instruments need it. I am different from the instrument. First thing. This in a very common sense way I am putting. Now, in a technical way, in a technical way, what is it? I am supported by the 5 elements. What are the 5 elements? I am supported by the 5 elements. tabular column மாதிரி போட்டு வெச்சுக்கோங்க சுரேஷ். Before Vedanta, after Vedanta. Before Vedanta, I am made up of the 5 elements. Therefore, the Panchabhutas support me. After Vedanta, what are you supposed to say now? I support the Panchabhutas that appear and disappear. I support them. அது வந்து போயின்னு இருக்கும். They keep coming, they keep going. I cannot exist without them. Before Vedanta. அது போச்சுன்னா I am gone. I cannot exist without them. That is before Vedanta. After Vedanta? After Vedanta என்ன சொல்லணும்? After Vedanta, you say, they have no existence without me, for I am the Adhishtanam. அப்படி சொல்லணும். For I am the support, I am the Adhishtanam. Without me, I don't need their support. They are in need of my support. Last. They cannot exist without me. I can exist without them. I can சொல்லக்கூடாது. They can't exist without me. I exist. அவ்வளவுதான். I exist. Full stop. அதோட விட்டுறணும். அதான் சத். I exist. அவ்வளவுதான். I exist. Clay says I exist. பாட்டு வரும் போகும். அவ்வளவுதான். Nama Rupa Guna Karma keeps, the Nama Rupa Guna Karma keeps coming and going. Another way of looking at it is the mind says, I support the dream and I exist independent of the dream. Are you able to follow? The waker's mind says, I support the dream. Number 1. Number 2, how do I support the dream? Each and everything that happens in the dream is the same mind. The one mind splits itself into 2, which is the dream subject and the dream object. That one mind splits itself into the infinite things of the dream. It is the same one mind. Are you able to follow? It is the same one mind that splits itself into the infinite thing of the dream. The sun in the dream, carefully follow. The sun, the moon, the stars, the temple, divine God inside that, and then the sewage flowing, the gutters, all are what? In the dream. The source of it is what? One mind. That one splits itself into many and folds back, and the mind remains independent of that, unaffected by that. Before Vedanta, after Vedanta. You can before Vedanta, dream. After Vedanta, waking up. Abdinna. Before Vedanta, Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti. After Vedanta, Turiya. இப்படி புரிஞ்சுக்கணும். Before Vedanta, I am restricted, constricted. After Vedanta, the instruments will be constricted, restricted only. Are you able to follow the difference? Before Vedanta, I am restricted, I am constricted, I am bound, I want to liberate, I want. After Vedanta, instruments will be bound, instruments will be limited. You can't have a unlimited instrument. You can't have that. It is not possible. Now, this is the last one. Huh? Remember this. How many eyes you can have? I am the waker, I am the dreamer, I am the deep sleeper. I am the waker, I am the dreamer, I am the deep sleeper. How many eyes you can have? I am an infant, I am a boy, I am a youth, I am a person, I am a old person, I die. I am rich, I am poor, I am good, I am bad. How many eyes is possible? நீங்க சொல்ற மாதிரிலாம் யோசிச்சா we'll go as it is. We are slightly like that only. நீங்க சொல்ற மாதிரி before Vedanta, after Vedanta, how many eyes are all possible னா யோசிச்சா we'll go there. இருக்கிற sanityயும் will go. How many eyes are possible? The nama rupa, the nama rupa guna karma are many. The eye is one, and that eye is the adhisthana, and that eye has to be non-dual. Please understand, all this explanation is to give a reasonable logical conclusion about how the eye is non-dual. How many eyes are possible? There can be only one eye, and that one eye has to be non-2. No, one nale non-2 dana. Let's say 1.1, 1.2 we cannot movie madri, we can't have version 2, version 3, version 4 alla. The eye has to be advayam. Where there is two, there is fear. Fear means what? Fear means what? Fear means okay, to put it very simply, I will go from the known fears, and then we will see what they are saying as where there is two, there is fear. From known to the unknown. The known causes for fear is what? Ignorance, otherness, selfishness, destructive nature. I may lose it. Now, all these is the known causes for fear. Vedanta says all these has the fundamental root. What is that fundamental root? The fundamental root as in ignorance. I said ignorance causes fear. What is the ignorance? What is the ignorance? The ignorance is this. The ignorance is this, and that causes fear. The ignorance is this. What is the ignorance? I am temporary. As long as you have identified with anything temporary, you will be in fear. This is Vedanta saying the cause for all fears. And then manifestations are many. Yeah, they say so many phobias, no? Phobic. I think it is the right word for nowadays. They don't say fear, phobic, phobia. And every person will have some. Yeah, every person will have one thing. I am not living in Mount Everest. just the 8th floor, 100 feet above. We are not living on Mount Everest. Even if you see down, unless you make a lot of effort to climb and suicidal tendencies, a jump another, you will fall. One of my friends came, he said, "Enna verupethradhukku dana you came here." I said, "I never even thought of you when I bought this house. The truth is that fellow didn't even cross my mind when I moved in here." Why? I have fear of heights. What is the fear of heights? He's not suspended in the air or anything. No, he's not suspended in the air or anything. Balcony just sit inside the just sit in the living room and go out. No, why are you? Now, all these different people have different kinds of fears. People have different kinds of fears. All this boils down to one. What? Ignorance. And what is ignorance? Ignorance is identifying with temporary. This is ignorance, and temporary means two. Or wherever there is two, it is temporary. Rendu irundale it is temporary. That is why even you fall in love, there is a tremendous fear about it. Why? Because the love can diminish, or the other person can change. Anga kuda two irundha thana. Vedanta says, where there is two, there will be fear. Two means temporary. Two means temporary, and this temporary will cause fear. Ignorance. What is the ignorance? Identifying with the temporary. Whenever you identify with the temporary, there will be this fear. Fear means what? Can't accept, can't digest that it will go. Can't accept, can't digest that it will go. Why it can't accept, digest, it will go? If it goes, what will? If it goes, what will I do, or what will happen to me? Are you able to follow? What will I do, or what will happen to me? Therefore, as long as the dvayam remains, down the line, the modifications will exist. What are the modifications? The modifications of krodha, lobha, mada, matsarya, bhaya, all that will exist. And how much ever you try to bring in positivity and try to push it under the carpet, pretending as though it is not there, or pretending as though you have conquered it. One situation in life will pull the carpet under your feet, and all that is under the carpet will come up. And when it comes up, it comes back with the vengeance. When it comes back, it will come back with that vengeance. Why I am giving all this explanation analysis is to explain the advayam. The advayam. As long as the non-dual reality, Brahman, the substratum of all, is not realized, so long the world appears real. Like silver in an oyster. Like silver in an oyster shell. So, in relation to the world, we saw before Vedanta, after Vedanta. In relation to Brahman, what are the two? It is Advayam and it is Adhishtanam. It is Advayam and it is Adhishtanam. Adhishtanam is one of the beautiful Sanskrit word. One of the beautiful Sanskrit word is Adhishtanam. All changes, modifications happens because of that. Adhishtanam. All changes, all modifications happens because of that. Even when it goes through the changes and modification, it remains the same. It remains the same. This is the Adhishtanam. Now, what is very important to understand here is he is going to start with the before Vedanta analysis a lot. The Panchabhutas and all that is going to start. That's where I just introduced that analysis of before knowledge and after knowledge. Before gaining this knowledge, after gaining this knowledge. But sir, we have been gaining this knowledge for so long. You know, before Vedanta category liye ko mein. We have been listening, studying for so long, and still we belong to before Vedanta. We are BC only. When we will become? When we will get into AD, you will get into after Vedanta only when you have the courage to let go of the identification with the temporary. If you have the courage to let go of your identification with the temporary, if you have the conviction to let go of the identification with the temporary, for you can't see the silver and the oyster shell together. You can't see both. You can see either the silver or the oyster shell. When you see the silver, there is no oyster shell. When you see the oyster shell, there is no silver. In between case, what do you see? All the Ramakrishna gives a beautiful example. There are various dolls made of salt, various dolls made of sugar. You know, we used to have those biscuits in the past. I don't know whether those biscuits are still there. You know, it will have shapes of all the creatures, the animals. He says a salt doll. As you see the various dolls made of salt, what do you understand? Salty buffalo, salty elephant, salty snake. Why? Because you pinch a little bit from that and put it in your tongue, you know it is all salt. You can get identified with the name, form, and lose the substratum that is supporting it. If you identify with the name, form, and lose the substratum, you will be affected by it. Why? Because the name and form are bound to change. You know what is the fear? The fear is not the fear of losing. Carefully follow. The fear is lack of understanding is the fear. Anything temporary, you cannot actually understand what it is. Since you cannot actually understand what it is, there will be a fear dealing with it. Why? Because at the core, you really don't know what you are dealing with. So you have to do guesswork and you are dealing. Are you able to follow what is the fear? This is ignorance. Again, I repeat. What is the fear? The fear is not knowing what it is. Not knowing what it is, and you have to deal with that not knowing what it is the fear. Though we talk about the known causes of fear as losing it, selfishness, all that is also the causes for fear. But in the Galla fundamental, what is the fundamental? Anything that is temporary, you are confused about the true nature. Are you able to follow? Anything that is temporary, you will be confused about its true nature. And if you do not know its true nature, and if you have to deal with it, relate with it, what will be there? Fear only will be there. Are you following till now? In order to overcome the fear, what will you do? You have to imagine something. What is positivity today? What people call as positive thinking is nothing but you have to imagine. What you have to imagine? Imagine that all good, all well, all are only positive. Negative thinking la irukudadu. It is not negative thinking. It is you have to brainwash yourself to believe that all around you is understandable. How much ever you brainwash yourself to believe that all around you, including you, is understandable, you know the truth. What is the truth? It is some part of it remains. Some part of it you are ignorant, and you have to deal with it is the fear. Vedanta comes and says, in the fear ponunna, you need to understand it at the core. Once you understand the core, this fear goes. What is understanding it at the core? All are salt dolls. Wherever you pinch a little bit and put it in your mouth, it would taste salty. Nama Rupa Guna Karma is different. Appearances are different. The essence is the one. You gain this understanding, you gain this knowledge, fear goes out. To put it very simply, you can live with the person for 40 years, 50 years. Still you can't say, I have understood that person fully, no. You can live with the person, husband and wife will surely agree to what I am saying. Yeah. After living for 40, 50 years also, you still can't say. You can predict out of 10 times by the law of probability, 7 times you are correct. So your accuracy is based on probability only. Your accuracy is there is no absoluteness to it. Are you able to follow? That's where in the book Clearer Thinking he says, we live life based on probabilities, he said. It is we live life based on probabilities, and this probability is the fear. He didn't conclude that. He only said up to this he came. We live life based on probabilities, and the very fact that it is a probability is the fear. Yeah. Okay. How do you know that 7:45 ki ennanalum sir will come at 7:45 based on your past experiences? That is why you all with conviction will come and sit. Yeah. Some people will log in at 7:50, 7:55 also. Paakla ஆரம்பிச்சிருந்தாங்கன்னா we will join. முன்னாடி எதுக்கு join பண்ணி wait பண்ணணும்? Because anyway, sir will take 15 minutes to warm up also, no? That is because this conviction is based on the probability. What is the probability? Out of 10 times, 9 times it has started at 7:45. Therefore, you have you kind of what is this called? You kind of predict that today also I will come at 7:45. 45 only. Are you able to follow? Nevertheless, it is still a, nevertheless, the truth is still a, you go to sleep so peacefully because all along you went to sleep and you have been waking up. Long back, so seriously, I had this doubt. I had this fear. What will happen if I don't wake up? I asked, Apollo, who and so all this wisdom you can ask only your friends, no? I said, hey, what we will do? Well, I still remember that friend. Still, we are very close friends. And he wants his children to study under me now. I don't know why. Huh? Hey, pasangalukku solli kudupa, he's saying now. Teach our kids. You don't have that fear at all. Why you don't have that fear at all? Because of I think what? Sir, 70 years I have been sleeping and waking up. Therefore, today also I will go to sleep peacefully. Life is the probability, is the fear. Life has no certainty, is the fear. So what happens? The mind has to, based on the probability, based on certain factors, it projects, it predicts a certainty, goes into that belief and gets conditioned by that belief. When Vedanta comes and exposes that it is temporary, it is bound to change, all this, the mind finds it difficult to accept it because it is against the conditioning. In that sense, Dvayam causes fear. I have been existing even before the body. No, it's not that the I came only after the body. It's not that the I comes only after the body comes. The I will continue to exist even after the body dies. The death of the body is not the death of the I. That is why you write a will, no, after my death. After my death. It means what? The I is continuing. The I continues. And there cannot be very many I's. There has to be only one I plus good, I plus bad, I long, I short, I rich, I poor. Mind, because of its extroverted nature, gets carried away by rich and poor, good and bad. Carefully follow. Because of your extroverted nature, you get carried away by good and bad, rich and poor, and start focusing there. That is extroverted nature. What is introverted nature means? Leave aside this good and bad, leave aside this long and short, leave aside this birth and death. What is this I? This inquiry is Vedanta. Very beautifully, Ramana Maharshi kept on saying, Modalla and I come to me, he says. First find out that I and come. We will talk after that. Conversation I will have only after you find that I. Now after you find that I, where will you go to find Ramana to have a conversation? Yeah. Because after you find the I, there is no Ramana also, no. So where can you go and find, where will you go and have a conversation with him after that? Introverted nature means finding out this I. So before Vedanta is extrovert, after Vedanta is introvert. Before Vedanta is probability, fear, ignorance. After Vedanta is a conviction. As you are listening, it may be very convincing. As soon as the session is over, the mind is waiting to come back. Mind is waiting to come back, and then it will come back and it will confuse. And when it comes back, how it will confuse you? The Atma Bodhana text vechinu our sir solradalla, don't take it very seriously. Sir sonna madri pinch of salt oda we have to take. Because sir only said, sir only gave the example, no, pinch of salt. So with the same pinch of salt we will take. Take it with a pinch of salt, and what does it mean? What all suits you, you will take. Pinch of salt, what does it mean? What all suits you, I will take. And the I and the inquiry is not that. So leave that aside. Good and bad, rich and poor, tall and short, that we will deal with. And as long as your attention is on the duality, and that duality will cause. So this attention on the duality is the cause for fear. So extroverted nature will cause fear. And how to be fearless? And Vivekananda said it so beautifully. Fearlessness is Vedanta, he says. Fearlessness is Vedanta. What is Vedanta? Fearlessness. Fearlessness, not in a foolish way. Fearlessness comes out of a deep conviction, a deep understanding. He is not saying all this, sir. He just said two words, Advayam, Adhishtanam. And the Advayam or Adhishtanam word, we are juggling around with it. We are spinning stories around. Yeah. We are spinning stories around that word. Advayam, Adhishtanam. He is establishing what? There are the two. There are the two, and one is superimposing upon the other. Are you able to follow the thought sequence of how he is developing? He is saying there are two, and one is superimposed on the other. As he is saying what is the nature of Brahman, which is Adhishtanam Advayam, he is going to talk about the nature of the superimposition also. He is going to talk about the various attributes, what are all the elements that caused, how did the actual superimposition happen, all that he is going to talk. And when I go there, we'll quickly read through that. Adula perusa describe pandradhukku illa the snake eppadi vandadunu, why go into such a, we'll study all that. It's not that we will skip and the verse I will not leave it on choice. We'll study all that, but the knowledge, the depth is, whenever he talks about the Adhishtanam is the depth. That which is perceptible, you don't need Vedanta. Carefully follow the logic. If the eyes can see it, why do you need another knowledge? Eyes itself is seeing it, no. So you don't need something else to come and prove which one is seeing. If eyes can see, you don't need something else to come and prove. If buddhi can understand, you don't need something else to come and prove. So what the senses, the mind, the buddhi cannot perceive, what these instruments cannot perceive, what these instruments cannot comprehend, a different knowledge is required to explain this. If it is comprehensible by the senses, the mind, the intellect, you don't need it at all. For you will know it already. or by little bit of inquiry into the world, you will know it anyway. The superimposition can be understood. The adhishtanam that is supporting it cannot be understood. With this I conclude. The noblest things of life is experienceable, not explainable. The noblest things of life is always, and even relatively speaking, the noblest things of life is experienceable, but not explainable. That is why when you start making it better, you resort to poetry. Language resorts to poetry when it wants to convey something that is very difficult to convey. And poetry also becomes redundant at some point, and then say, ya pashyati, sa pashyati. Whoever sees it, sees it. Even that also becomes redundant at another stage, like Dakshinamurti, simply, like they say, zip your mouth, no? Why? Because the wonderful things in life are experienceable, but not explainable. One kind of logic says, if you have experienced it, means you should be able to explain it. That is one kind of logic. Are you able to follow? If you have experienced it, means you should be able to explain it. Another kind says, it is correct for some. It is not correct for. You cannot make it a general law where all that is experienced can be explained. To put it very simply, see, how many movies are made out of this emotion, love? Still it is very interesting, no? How many poems have been written? How many epics have come? And still, with all, if you put all this knowledge together, and there is this chemistry of love, and then there is this biology of love, and then there is the physicality of love, and then there is the psychology of love. Oh my God, how much ever you explain it, still it remains so inexplicable. Still it remains inexplicable. Gratitude, how many movies have come out of it? Thankfulness. Gratitude means thankfulness. How many have come out of it? How many have been? And still thankfulness remains so. How much ever you explain, you know that you have not actually communicated what you have experienced, no? Even in love, that's why I'm giving love as an example. Even in love, you explain it. You tell the other person, you know how much I love you, and the person asks, now tell me how much you love me. And you start saying, what? I'm willing to give up my life for you. I'm willing to do this. I'm willing to make this sacrifice. I have done this, do this. And the end of it, that person says, I have understood. Will you be satisfied? You will not be satisfied, because you know that whatsoever you have explained, it's only the tip of the iceberg. The emotion love is still deeper and deeper and deeper, and more and more and more you try to explain it, then you realize that it is inexplicable. The Sanskrit word, the Upanishadic word for it is Anirvachaniya. Anirvachaniya means inexplicable. Inexplicable. It is inexplicable. Understand this. It is experienceable, but you can experience it, but you cannot explain it. That is where you say, I know it, but I don't know how to. Kenopanishad, the Guru, I know it, but I don't know how to communicate. Now you think he doesn't know the technique. You think he doesn't know the words. It is not that. The depth of it cannot be. The depth of it cannot be communicated. It means what? It means what? The virtues, the noblest things. In the relative, in the temporary itself, the noblest of things is inexplicable. Means how much more difficult it would be for the permanent. And still they are making so much of effort to explain. Yeah. Week after week after week, we are week after week after week trying to explain that which is inexplicable. At least, you you may start studying hope at least. How much of struggle these great, not me, how much of struggle these great masters are making to explain that. At least on the sympathy level, one fellow will start studying is one. Therefore, you understand what there are the two, and one superimposes on the other. There are the two, and one you superimpose upon the other. And what are the two? One is Advayam, Adhishtanam. One is Advayam, Adhishtanam. The other is temporary. And the very fact that there is this temporary thing itself proves that there has to be something permanent in the background, and how much ever deep you penetrate, that permanency goes one step, that permanent factor goes one step behind, and it will remain elusive. Abdinna, how to get it? Adu much later. The sadhana, the path, and all that comes much later. Now he is preparing the knowledge, and if you have developed this conviction with this knowledge itself, rest of the things is not required. You will know exactly what to do for. You will know exactly what to do and how to handle it. This is verse number 7. Tavat satyam jagadbhati shuktikarajatam yata yavanna jnayate brahma sarvadishtanam advayam. Sarvadishtanam advayam. As long as the non-dual reality Brahman, the substratum of all, is not realized, so long the world appears real like silver in oyster shell. Like silver in oyster shell. This is verse number 7. Next week we continue with verse number 8 onwards. I'll try and see if I can address some. There are some clarifications. I'll try and see how much it can be addressed. Arambathilindu, first one. Shankar. Sir, if the body, mind, intellect are designed to recognize the changing factors, how are we expected to shift to the focus on that unchanging factor? How do we go about? First is to recognize that they are. First is to recognize that they are temporary. The very difficulty is in accepting the fact that they are temporary. The moment you are able to digest and accept the fact that it is temporary, that knowledge itself will guide you to the next stage. The very fact that you are able to accept, when I say accept means digest, absorb the fact that it is temporary, that absorption itself will bring a maturity. That absorption itself will give a clarity. And that clarity will guide you to how are we expected to shift the focus. You are not expected to shift Allah, it will happen automatically. Yeah, Shankar. It will happen automatically. That's why I explained. Unless there is a vague cognition, unless there is a vague understanding in you that there is something permanent in the background, you will not be able to do any of this. That itself is the conviction. And this knowledge itself is enough to, to start with. Yeah. Viji Ramani, when you said that all are seekers, but we are unaware because we are that already, can you repeat that and explain furthermore? Week after week after week, even if you want to continue after 9:30 till I die of hunger, I will keep talking. I will finish my hunger. I will come back and I will continue the same talk. Don't worry. We'll explain it furthermore. Sri Ram. Sri Ram says, very correct. The problem with Vedanta. Yeah, correct. Correct. The problem with Vedanta is this. Sometimes, as qualified pantara, correct? Adanala he's correct. First, it says duality is the cause for fear. But the very Vedanta says, creates a duality or separation within you. It takes you from I and the world to a different duality, wherein you are different from the senses. So Vedanta wants you to initially create this duality within you, and then later on it tries to shatter this very thought of duality or separation that it initially asked you to create for yourself, so that it kinds of negates itself at a higher level and says this duality that is prescribed to you is itself an illusion. Sri Ram, very correct. First, Vedanta says, first, there is no sense of duality at all at the level of ignorance. For the I is so supremely secure in ignorance.
Correct.
So first Vedanta comes and breaks that and says there are the two. Right. Before coming into Vedanta, the fellow says I mattunda. The I and senses alla separate lang kedayadu. I am the senses is a figurative way of saying I and senses are not two separate, they are one. I and mind are not two separate, they are one. Is what? At the stage number 1 is. Now, first Vedanta, what it does, modalla and the security it unsettles. First, it unsettles that. By unsettling that, what happens? You are made to penetrate little bit deeper. And when you are made to penetrate little bit deeper, then you see the layers of illusion in that. Then you see the layers of illusion. First, they make you see the layers, and then one by one it is peeled off. You are correct. That's what you are saying. So it kinds of negates it. So first it creates it at one layer, and then it negates it at a higher level.
Right.
Correct. That is the very purpose of knowledge. That is why in the very first few sessions or the very first few encounters with Vedanta, when I say very first few encounters, can be continuing for a few janmas also. They say the knowledge varthukku munadi theliva irundha sir. Before coming into this knowledge, I was clear only. Yaro sonnangale, I came into this knowledge and I got confused after coming into this knowledge only. That's what Sriram is saying, which is perfectly correct. It is perfectly correct, because this is what happens at level number 1, and then it negates it. So what knowledge does? It exposes that which you are not exposed to, and then it negates that. In fact, it is exposing you because it has the solution. That's why it is exposing you. If it doesn't have the solution, exposing you is the greatest crime, the biggest crime.
Correct.
Because at least you will be happy in the world. With the ups and downs of the world, at least you will be happy doing whatever you are doing. Unnecessarily come and confuse you and not have the solution. Since they have the solution, they do this. Are you able to follow? They are able to break in this because they have the solution also to peel it off completely from the core. Are you okay till now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Then Mohan. Okay. It is Shankar again. Is it correct to say, till such time we get established on the concept of that one reality, there shall be the duality, and this duality will cause suffering? Correct. It will cause suffering. Mental agitations. See, suffering means a state which you don't want to be in. That is suffering. What is suffering means? A state where you don't want to be in. A state which you are not comfortable being in. That is suffering. And duality will keep you in that state. So see, when Vedanta says suffering, now you have to be very clear in what is the definition of suffering. Suffering means a state in which you don't, where you are not comfortable with, where you don't want to be in. That is suffering. You don't want to be in it, but you are in it is the suffering. Are you able to follow? Duality irukra varaikkum idu irukum. How does one deal with fear of physical pain? Uma. How does one deal with fear of physical pain?
If I have money, I can say I let go of my riches. Then correct. I don't have fear of being poor.
Correct.
But how do but fear of feeling pain? Correct. I have no control on it.
Correct. Just as you have assumed that riches will take you from the fear of poverty, you have to assume that medication will take you, medicines will help you from the fear of pain. How did you assume that? How did you assume that wealth is the protection from poverty? In the same way, you have to assume this also. It is an assumption. Just as you gave a very good example. Just as you assumed that wealth will take care of the fear of poverty, it is an assumption that is protecting you from that fear. Similarly, medicines will protect you from the fear of pain. That's all. Where is the difficulty? The problem is, but medicines won't remove the pain, no sir.
Wealth also will not take care of the fear of poverty, right? Because correct. We are let go of wealth. That there is no. I am going to let go of wealth so that I do not have the issue of fear of poverty does not arise.
You don't let go of the wealth only when you hold on to the wealth. That holding on to the wealth makes you rich, makes you feel you are rich, and that takes care of the fear of poverty.
So I don't hold on to the wealth. So there is no issue of fear of poverty.
Since you are holding on to wealth, it makes you believe that you are rich.
Correct. So in the similar analogy,
Now, in the similar analogy, you can't bring in you can't compare the pain and the body here if you are comparing it in that way. Why you cannot compare it? It is a wrong comparison. Why? Why it is a wrong comparison? Body equals pain. There is no painless body. You believe that there is a painless body. There can be a painless body. And pain is inimical to the body. That is why you are fearing pain. Pain is not inimical to the body. Pain is inevitable, natural to the body. You cannot have a painless body.
you just accept it.
You have to accept it. There is no other way of dealing with the fear of pain. Body means, see, one is you exercise and you consciously bring in pain. Another is you can be lethargic and bring in pain. Correct? You can exercise and bring in pain. You can be lethargic and bring in pain. But nevertheless, body, the definition of body, the Sanskrit word, in the English word body, pain is not there. In the Sanskrit word sharira, pain is the meaning of the word sharira itself. From where do we get the notion that there can be a painless body? I have assumed that there can be a painless state in comparison to that the present pain I am fearing. In fact, most of the time, biological pain the body can handle. After a threshold crosses, body will turn numb. It is the mind that it is the process, it is the fear of the mind. It's not of the body. Fear is not of the body. Fear is of what? Fear is of the mind. And the mind, that fear can be handled only through knowledge. What is the knowledge? Body will go through pain. You can have a small headache and bring the roof down. You can have a small headache and bring the roof down. You can have multiple fractures and get up and still do things that ought to be done and finish it off. Both are possible, no? In the second case, the fellow, we say, has conquered pain. It is not that he has conquered pain. He has rightly understood what? He has rightly understood. That is how that's how you deal with physical pain. Lastly, Uma, excessive identification with the physical body and comfort is the cause for fear of physical pain. Excessive identification with the physical body and comforts to the physical body is the cause for physical pain. See, we don't want to be hungry even for 30 minutes, no. We don't want to be hungry for some time, no. We immediately want to stuff it in so that it will not feel hungry for the rest of the day, the year, the week, the month, janmas after janmas also we want to do. Why? Because The fear is of the mind. It's not of the body. Are you able to follow what I'm saying?
Thank you. So we have to accept that if there is body, there is also pain.
Yes. Also sollakudadu.
There is pain.
Body means pain. You know what an effort it is to grow in the womb? Pain. You know what an effort is to come out of the womb? Pain to both. And to catch the first breath after that, what a pain. The first teeth to grow, what a pain. Crawling, walking, talking, what a pain. Right through it is. Right through life is a pain. The moment you understand it, it ceases to be painful anymore. That's all. The moment you understand it, it ceases to be painful. So, it is pain. What an effort the seed has to make to break open the earth and come out. The seed. What an effort it is to break open the earth and come out. Life equals pain. But we say, sir, pain for growth is okay, but bodily pain is not. Inga kuda we divide pain as though some pain for growth pain is okay, sir, but some other like diseases pain and all is not acceptable. That's what you are saying. Pain for growth, I agree, sir, but diseases pain is what I am talking about. Now, whether it is disease pain or pain, the growth and all, it doesn't really, all this is your imaginary distinctions. The reality is life equals
Pain.
Life equals pain. Some pain you are agreeing because it suits you. Some pain you are agreeing because it suits you. Some pain you are not agreeing because it is not. It's not suiting you. Now, whether it suits you or not, life equals. Whether it suits you or not, life equals
Pain.
pain. That's how you handle the fear. To withstand the pain of separating from adorable daughter, fear of divorce, Guru Prasad is asking this question. How to withstand the pain of separating from adorable daughter, fear of divorce. I also have the same fear, Guru Prasad. I have a wonderful daughter, adorable daughter. I also have the same fear. You marriage, I go to alone. I am having that same same fear. Divorce. My God, what will happen if my wife divorces? How to withstand the pain? They all come in with their own wings. They will fly. Understand this. They all come in with their own wings and they will necessarily fly. All that you have to do is ensure that you don't clip the wings. That's all. Ensure that you don't clip the wings and tie them with you. They come in with their wings and they will fly. And they have to fly. If they don't fly, if they don't fly, it's a very bad thing that you are doing to them. Loving you today need not love you tomorrow. Digest it, all fear will go away. You are grateful to the love. You are grateful to the love. You are thankful to the love, but you don't put the condition for tomorrow. The person loving you today need not love you tomorrow. You are grateful to the love. You are thankful to the love, and you say bye-bye with gratitude and thankfulness. Then you will not have the fear of separation and all that. But there is the fear of separation because of the condition. What is the condition? The person loving me today must love me tomorrow, and love for
Forever.
love for ever. How is it possible? How is it possible? Stand in front of the mirror. You don't love yourself all the time. How can? Yeah. How can you ask somebody to? How can you ask somebody or expect somebody to love you like that? Therefore, that's how the fear goes out. Fearlessness, Mohan is saying. அஞ்சுதலை கண்டு அஞ்சாமை பேதமை. Correct? That's what Mohan has written in Tamil.
Correct.
அஞ்சுதலை கண்டு அஞ்சாமை பேதமை. Fearlessness. How to relate these two? அஞ்சுதலை கண்டு அஞ்சாமை பேதமை. நம்ம வந்து லிட்ரேச்சர் கிளாஸ் வச்சுக்கணும் தனியா. I have to explain this also, and then I have to explain this. We will discuss this separately.
Okay.
Anything you want to refer like this, I'm always available for Mohan. I'm always available for discussion, but not in this forum where I need to explain what that means now.
Okay. Okay.
Now I have to explain what that means, and that will take like for example, Anjudalai Kandu Anjamai Pedamai. Yashu will have no clue to what the statement is. Now if I start answering that, she'll be more confused. For now I have to explain what that statement is, and then are able to follow. That's why I am avoiding. But we can discuss this. I'm always available for discussion. But some things I don't do it in this forum because to explain that and then explain this and then reconcile will take another 45 minutes.
Okay, sir. No problem.
Yeah, Mohan.
No problem,
But
sir.
there is a relation. There is a correlation.
Yeah.
They are not contradictory. They are not conflicting.
Okay.
Okay? They are not conflicting. They are not contradictory. Yeah, Mohan.
I'll get it clarified, sir.
Yeah.
Personally, I will talk to you.
Yes, please.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, Hari Prasad. Every woman takes a vow at the time of delivery not to get pregnant again. But nevertheless, life goes on and she will go for the next stage of life. Correct. This is he is not asking as a somebody or unmute pannungo, Hariji. Yes, Hariji.
Yeah, Arvindji, actually, I was just adding my views onto Ms. Uma's question about pain of the body, fear
Correct.
of the pain on the body.
Correct.
And it's not a question, I just added my view.
Correct. That's why, since it is not a question, you are allowed to speak. Since it is not a question, you are allowed to speak. Is it okay? Did I have I attended to all the? I think I have attended to all the clarifications. If there is anything that I am missing, somebody correct me. Otherwise, I am assuming that I have addressed everything.
You have addressed everything.
Yeah, right, but correct. Yes, I have addressed everything. With this, we conclude for today and we continue verse number 8 next week. Hari Om.